Okay, so we're back at our whiteboard. We have the conceptual model we came up with. I just made some room for myself to put the attributes in, and we're going to go through the logical modeling step, right? Remember here, for logical modeling, you would basically put in the attributes that are needed that you want to keep track of for each entity. What I'm going to do is also add in the foreign keys. Just because when we go to the physical modeling step, since this is a bigger ERD, instead of spending time writing out every one of the data types, we're going to do a couple, but leave we'll give you the full schema at the end, but instead of going through and writing each individual data type through whiteboarding, we're going to save some time and just show you the end results. So that's why here I'm going to be adding in the foreign keys as well. But typically you would likely do that during the physical modeling step. Okay, but I'm basically going to start from the top, add in the attributes that we're going to be needing. So we'll start with the membership type entity, right? So again, for membership types, probably going to need an ID, membership type ID that probably has a title. Then remember for membership types, we talked about how it's going to be keeping track of different rules for the membership. So things like late days allocated, maybe late fees. So different rules that's going to apply to the membership type. So late days allocated might be the number of days that's allowed to have a book be late before late fees start occurring. Again, these are just different requirements that might be needed in the system. We're just kind of thinking of different ones, so we're not going to worry too much about it. But in our case, a couple attributes, and the keys are basically all we're focused on for now, right? Okay, and then looking at this, we're pretty much good with membership types. So moving on, members. Again, I'm going to need a member ID as our primary key. I'm also likely going to need, so we see it joins to membership types, so that's going to be my foreign key there. Then what other attributes is a member going to have? So things like first name, last name, email, and so on, and probably other attributes as well. So, but we're not going to focus too much on them. Besides that, member looks good. Why don't we go to employee from here, since that also relates to it. So let's say if we're employee, we're going to need a primary key again. Let's say employee ID. Maybe there's a job title associated with the employee. Maybe there's a hire date. Again, these are just additional attributes I'm thinking of that you might need. And in the interview, you might want to talk through a couple important ones, but I wouldn't spend too much time on getting every single attribute that you would need for it to function. The only thing I would say you definitely want to add in is things that were mentioned in that we decided were requirements. Okay, and the other requirement here we had was, remember, it joins to member ID, to member. So we're going to have member ID be our foreign key to the member table eventually. Besides that, looks like we're good here. So, and now why don't we actually go to do that product granularity? So remember the very top level is going to be, so it might be the magazine name or like a book series name like Harry Potter and so on. So you're going to have, let's call it a product line ID and a name, and you're likely going to have other stuff. We won't worry about it too much, but in our case, let's keep using Harry Potter as an example, and that's going to be our product line. Product is going to be the individual parts, so part 1 to part 7. So you're going to have a product ID, a name. You're going to have a product ID. Name might be other attribute, but like before that, you're gonna have to join that to product line, right? So you're gonna have product line ID as a foreign key to product line. You're gonna have your name. Then you see this also joins to publisher and author, so you're gonna have those IDs as well, right? So you'll have a author ID and a publisher ID. Okay. So again, we're thinking about the joins when we're turning into foreign keys, and this pretty much joins to everything. Product item, we see there's that other relationship, but product item is going to have the foreign key there. So For product, it pretty much looks like we're good. Yeah, and then actually, since we did that, we'll actually do publisher and author really quickly because these are pretty quick. So I'm gonna do, if this is publisher ID, it'll probably have a name and other attributes. For author, same concept where you're gonna have an author ID and a name, probably some other attributes. Okay, so we're pretty much done with that side, and we have our two left. So product item, again, that's the third most granularity. So the different copies of each Harry Potter version, different copies of each Harry Potter part that you have. So you're gonna have an ID for each copy, right? So you'll have a product item copy. Sorry, product item ID. Maybe you'll have something like a version number. So let's say there's 10 copies, you might have version 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1 to 10. Again, not really important, but you might be something that the library uses. Product ID, that's going to be our foreign key to the product, that second granularity table on the right side. Product ID, and maybe you have something like date added, where if the library keeps getting multiple copies, maybe they keep track of that version number and different dates when it's added, just to keep track of how old a particular copy is. Okay. Besides that, we're pretty much good with product item. And last one is item checkouts, really, right? This is the one that keeps track of the individual transactions, right? Of people checking out books. You're gonna have product item ID because a copy is what's actually going to be checked out. Member ID is the person who's gonna check it out. We'll probably have a checkout date, a scheduled. And so since we're keeping track of late fees with this, so one thing you might want to do is have a scheduled return date and then an actual return date. This way, what you'd be able to do is, if you're the library, you'd be able to take the difference of them. So if it was returned 2 days late or something, I'd be able to take the difference. So return date minus scheduled return date. And then I can use that to track the late fees if there are any. So use case I might think of is, so you see in membership types here. Actually, let's do this. Yeah. So you see here in membership types, there's the late days allocated and the late fees. So something I might do is I might do some calculations here to see what the difference is between the return date and schedule date, and see if it's greater than the late days allocated. And if it is, I might decide I might use the late fees to calculate how much they owe. So again, that's just one of the use cases you might want to talk through as you're kind of doing this with your interviewer. You might want to talk through different use cases to kind of show why you're making these decisions and putting these attributes in, besides what's in the requirements. Okay, then sort of looking at this, we're pretty much good, where this is pretty much our complete ERD. We have our attributes, we have our relationships, and we're basically ready to move on to the next step now.